Well, a very good Sunday evening to you one all. Hope your the weekend's almost finished, isn't it? Weekend's almost done. Back to work on Monday. Um, Now, obviously, one of the major issues from yesterday was a lack of space, a lack of drive in midfield. It was very pedestrian, particularly in the first half. And it goes to show when someone like, no disrespect, but 𝙍𝙀𝙋𝙋 comes in from a relatively unsuccessful time at Nottingham Forest and hit the ground. And to be honest, looked like he was our most progressive player we had on the pitch. And I thought he acquitted himself very well in that second half. But it's clear that we haven't got legs in that midfield. And midfield is going to be one area that we are going to be overhauling, according to reports. Sean Wheatson took to Twitter this sort of early this afternoon, saying that Claret and Hugh have learned that West Ham are highly unlikely to activate the option to buy clause in Carlos Soler's loan deal. Now, obviously, if you look back, like pre-Potter, PP, the Lopetegui era, he was quite happy with Soler, and in fact, they were looking at negotiating that deal. And I thought, actually, to be honest, I thought Carlos would be someone who would really suit Potter in terms of the style of play, but that doesn't seem to be the case. He goes on to say the club is planning an overhaul in the summer, aiming to clear the decks and allow Graham Potter to bring in his own men. So obviously the Spanish international Carlos Soler, 22 times he's played for the club so far. He joined on from Paris Saint-Germain on loan with an option to make the deal permanently, around 16, 17 million euros, we're led to be believed. And there has been some inconsistent performances. I think that for me, there's always been a thread of a really good player in there. It's clear. And in fact, his goal, albeit was fortuitous in terms of how it was late him, showed the quality because first time hit, really, really good in the bottom corner against Fulham, I think, off the top of my head. As I said, the fact was, and it might be more of a case of when we see players, we see them for their transfer value, but actually they have a lifetime value at West Ham. So it's not just the transfer fee, but it's also the wages. And I think that seems to be the obstacle. You know, I think you could go out and buy 𝙍𝙀𝙋𝙋. I think he was around the same money. So, you know, it's not necessarily the upfront cost, but I think it was what they were getting in the long term in terms of that sort of wage package. He is on a very high wage, obviously coming from Paris Saint-Germain. So any potential deal for him to come in would either assume he would take a massive pay cut or we wouldn't be able to afford him on those wages, in all honesty. I mean, Sean mentions that and says that had the former Valencia star made a more lasting impression on the first team, West Ham might have considered pushing forward with a deal. But if Soler viewed as a Lopetegui signing, there is little to no chance he will have a long-term future under Graham Potter, who continues to assess his inherited West Ham squad. And that, to me, is the interesting point. You know, being a Lopetegui guy, you know, Potter wants to bring in his own people. Now, there's some people in the playing staff who he loves, and I have that under pretty much first-hand information in terms of the players he really, really wants to work with at West Ham, who are currently in the first team squad. And I think you could probably guess, to be honest. I don't think it's much. It's no real secret. Obviously, would never compromise that information. But it's clear, and I don't think Carlos necessarily is seen as one of them. He's very much seen as a Lopetegui guy coming in, and I think if you look at, you know, traditionally the types of players that Potter and under the Potter regime, they tend to be more raw, and I think someone like 𝙍𝙀𝙋𝙋 is the type of person we'd be more looking at rather than Soler, and obviously we would pay a lot less in wages. So, and he's younger, so the lifetime value for him is greater than Carlos Soler. And I agree with what Sean said. I think if he came in and hit the ground running and was like, "Oh my god, this guy's fucking amazing," then I think the club will be, or not just from Pod, but I think that the club and the coaching staff would be more, what's the word? More adamant or more persistent of making this deal happen, because Paris Saint-Germain put it on the table pretty much at the beginning of the January transfer window. You know, they were looking to move him on because they wanted to fund bringing in players. I think it was 16, 17 million pounds they were looking at, and we were a bit hesitant there. And then obviously part of the reason being because it looked like that Lopetegui was leaving, so didn't really want to invest in the Lopetegui guy. And the next manager, next head coach, and incumbent coming in wouldn't necessarily want him. So, which is a shame. As I said, to me, didn't have a great game yesterday, but I don't think many people did have a great game yesterday, particularly in the first half. I think second half, I think the 3 subs came on and acquitted themselves really well. But, he's got 14 games, or what is it, 13, something like games left to prove himself. So anything can happen in the next 24 hours, literally at West Ham, it seems. But anything can happen with that. But at the moment, it seems that it is unlikely to be made permanent. And it's not necessarily from a sort of initial transfer fee, but it's more about the package, which makes perfect sense. Anyway, sorry, pressed the wrong button. I'll be back later. I'll be back tomorrow. Rather, lots to talk about. The Academy show, great show for the boys yesterday. Not yesterday, on Friday, Valentine's Day. Another win for the under-21s, under-18s played as well, and all the youth and all the loan spells and stuff. I'll go through that tomorrow. So check that out. Until then, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, and come on, you bloody irons. Much love.